Can you tell me a little bit about your self goals and ambitions?
Um, I'm a 44-year-old mom of two. Been married 6 years. Um, been in Hinesville for 7. My goals are I would like to own my own business and my own studio, and my ambitions is just to make sure that my kids have better than what I had growing up, and the things that they need, not only things that they need, but the things that they desire.
How did you meet your husband?
Chris and I met on April 23rd. Um, After church, I was getting my hair done for an interview, and he came in to visit a friend of his, and I was doing homework, and I made a joke and asked him a technology question, and it kind of just sparked a conversation. And within that conversation, he also uh, fell in love with my daughter, and just their spark um, captured my attention. That single man would want to would find it not robbery to take on the role of being a father figure for a young lady that he didn't even know yet.
What was the most compelling thing you can remember about your husband in the beginning?
The most compelling thing was the fact that he had a big heart like I did. Um, again, didn't find it robbery to help when he could, and even if he couldn't, he found a way to help and make any situation better the best way he could.
What was your husband's relationship with your daughter in the beginning?
Chris and Jada's relationship in the beginning was very sweet, very genuine. Um, the fact that he was, compelled to take care of her and not think nothing of it, but everything he did was from the heart, and she was equally drawn to him because he gave her the attention that a princess should deserve from a father, even though he wasn't the father yet.
What are some of the things that seemed troubling as you started to be aware of his PTSD?
Um, some of the troubling things were that I was genuinely trying to get him to open up and trust that I really cared about him and his situation, and I was genuinely there for him despite the disappointments that he's gone through um, previously. I was just trying to show him that I actually did care about what he was going through and trying to find the best way that I could be of help to him.
What steps did you take to try to show your spouse some support for his PTSD?
I offered to go to counseling with him. We occasionally went to church, but most of the time I spent singing and praying because I felt like the prayer, even though it was in secret or just myself, it helped openly, and the songs uh, words help a lot. Even when you think they're not listening, they're listening. So words to certain songs help in different situations. It helps the person heal.
At what moment did the PTSD start to affect your family?
Um, I think that the PTSD started to affect the family when I felt like I was giving genuine advice or trying to be there as a wife, but I also felt like I was being, my advice or my genuineness was being ignored because of the situation that he was going through. So, because he was focused more on what he was going through and not able to see clearly that I was really trying to be there for him and be in his corner despite what he was going through.
Why did you say yes to your spouse even after seeing how bad his PTSD was?
I said yes because it wasn't about the good, the bad, or the ugly. It was about the heart. And I saw that the matters of the heart were genuine. It's just that he had stumbling blocks and roadblocks that he had to overcome because of previous failures or previous relationships that had failed him. He didn't know how to trust. And so it was something that had to be built up.
Did things escalate for the best or did it get worse during your marriage?
In the very beginning, it was probably the worst. As the years went on, it got a little better. Um, Everybody has disagreements, but I think that as the years went by, we learned more or less how to maneuver through them and how to address them in a more reasonable and respectful manner. So I would say that even though it started out bad. It's day by day fixing itself and getting better.
What did you feel you had to do at that moment as things got worse?
The moment that I felt that things got worse and I felt like I was very overwhelmed and I couldn't take it anymore, but I did not have any intentions on separating my son from his father. I spoke to my husband and I told him that a separation needed to take place in order for us to regroup and think about the things that we need and the things that we want, and then eventually try to come back together and talk about those things and come up with a solution together.
How long did you stay separated from your spouse?
I stayed separated for about 6 to 7 months.
Did things with your spouse get worse during this period of separation, or did it get better, or start to get better?
When we first left, we were okay. Um, we weren't on the best of terms, but it wasn't exactly the worst of terms either. Um, when my mom had the stroke and I felt like I needed to do the right thing, and by calling him and telling him what was happening, things escalated and got out of hand. But quickly we were able to grasp, get a grip and able to talk and come to an agreement for the sake of the children.
What steps was taken for you and your spouse to heal,
Eyes is running.
and how did it benefit the relationship with your spouse and daughter?
The steps that were taken to heal was we had a conversation, not necessarily a yelling match, but an actual conversation. And everybody's feelings were addressed and respected. From there, we tried to make a family plan and, to the best of our ability, stick to it.
What is the end result of the relationship since being repaired with your spouse and your spouse with the children?
The end result is the kids are more at peace because there's not so much, yelling and arguing going on in the house. Although we do still have disagreements, we're able to sit down and talk through them instead of yelling and fighting through them. And each person is learning to be respectful one to the other by listening instead of over talking.
Thank you for this time to share your story. Is there any word or of advice for our viewers that might be going through marital bliss or any family suffering from PTSD or any other element that could break up the family? Is there any advice you can share, like your faith, your strength, that might can help them?
My strongest point was that I knew how to pray. Prayer works. It works better than any counseling, anything that you could think of, because when you think that God doesn't understand, He definitely does. But as far as the person, to be open and honest with them and to listen to their side and what they're going through, and have as much empathy as you can, but also showing that you're trying to help by getting them help. So whether that be joining them in counseling to help them feel better, or joining them in counseling to help them feel comfortable in opening up about what they're going through or their situation, and being by their side in difficult times helps, as well as being a good listener. Not everything validates a response. Sometimes they just need someone to be a genuine listener, and that helps as well.